Good Sunday morning. I'm meteorologist Chris Ramirez with the KHOU 11 weather team. We are tracking mostly quiet weather conditions, but the heat ramping on up as we head into those afternoon hours. You're seeing a little bit of a haze across downtown Houston, and that is some smog, all thanks to some elevated levels of ozone. And so there is some air quality issues for today here across the Houston area as well. But temps already at 86 degrees. When you factor in that humidity, it's at 92 degrees. I know we have some folks that don't have power still from the storms that happened last Thursday. And so just keep in mind that as we deal with these warm and humid conditions, you want to take frequent breaks as well as staying hydrated. So right now, current temps are about 80 at Rice Military, 86 in Hobby, 85 out in Spring, Tomball at 86 degrees with Columbus at 81 degrees. We're also dealing with those very muggy conditions. So when you see those dew points in the 70s, those are summer-like muggy conditions that we're going to see for the next few days. And unfortunately, the humidity just really getting worse as we progress throughout the week. So we're seeing that heat index, or feels like temps, are going to be in the upper 90s for this afternoon. That's going to be in the hundreds by the end of our work week. So just keep that in mind when it comes to working outdoors and start practicing those heat safety measures as we go throughout the next several days. And hopefully you're able to stay safe when it comes to the recovery efforts from Thursday's storm. So as we go throughout our day, we're going to see those temps, these feels like temps in the upper 90s, feeling like 98 degrees, 96 by 3 to 4 p.m. And just keep in mind that the hottest times of the day, usually around 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. That's when we see the warmest temperatures, usually any day across the Houston area. But expect those warmer temperatures to be at play in the early afternoon hours. So if you're doing those outdoor recovery efforts, just might want to take advantage of those early morning hours or those later hours. Just keep in mind sunset is also at 8 o'clock, so sun is setting later in our day. As we look at today's high, we're going to see highs of about 92 degrees here across the Houston area. The good news is that we're having a little bit of winds, a little bit of breezy conditions, unlike yesterday, but still really not enough to blow all that ozone out of the way. We're going to be seeing that humidity just remain rather just muggy, at least for the rest of our work week. But in combination of that, we have an ozone alert day that was issued by the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality. We have unhealthy levels of ozone across southeast Texas. And so usually what happens is that when we have these warm, muggy days with lots of sunshine, we usually get that combination of the volatile organic compounds from vehicles. So that those pollutants that we get from vehicles, household products, that usually forms a chemical reaction that has that ozone at ground level. So we really don't want that in terms of that. So we definitely are seeing that unhealthy ozone levels in effect for Harris, Brazoria, and Galveston counties for today. So like I said before, we have that sunlight, we have those VOCs, those pollutants rather. We are expecting that to create ozone at the ground level, and that can provide some issues with folks with lung sensitivity, health conditions going into days like today, because the wind speed's just really not all that high to blow all of that offshore. But unfortunately, we're going to see that above average outlook in terms of our temperatures through the next 6 to 10 days. So we are going to still remain warm. We're not expecting any significant cool down here across southeast Texas through the coming days. We are dealing with a very quiet weather pattern, unlike what we saw on Thursday. So like you look at it right here, it's not seeing any radar across any rain across Texas right now. And that's all thanks to a high pressure system that's building in from the south. So as this high continues to build in, it's going to create warm and humid conditions. It's also going to keep rain out of the picture. Weather models are hinting around at another weather system that's going to be arriving around maybe Thursday, probably late Wednesday, Thursday. But since this high is right here, it's just really going to keep that rain well to the north of Houston. So we're expecting a rather dry forecast for the next few days. We might see some isolated showers for Friday, but unfortunately, the humidity is going to start ramping up with those wind speeds. So once that high moves over the Gulf of Mexico, it brings in those southeasterly, very moist winds in that air across our area, and it's just going to cause a hotter heat index or feels like temperatures. So high temps for the next 10 days topping out in the lower 90s, but just keep in mind that as we go throughout the rest of our week, we're going to see those feels like temps or heat indices in the hundreds by the end of the week. So keep that in mind and start practicing those heat safety measures, because we're expecting mostly sunny skies, highs in the 90s, lows in the 70s. Might see a slight rain chance going into Friday. So if you still do not have power, I know a lot of us don't. I barely got my power back yesterday afternoon, but CenterPoint making progress in terms of restoring power to lots of individuals who are dealing with that as of today. But if you have to spend some time in the heat, here are some power outage heat tips. Seal off the hot rooms from the rest of your house. Take cold showers if possible. Check on your vulnerable neighbors, and block out the windows to keep the sun out. That usually, I know sunshine usually gives us light during the times that we don't have power, but making sure that those windows are blocked can contribute to a cooler house going into dealing with those issues with the power concerns that we're currently facing here across Southeast Texas. But hopefully a lot of folks will get that power back later on today, as CenterPoint is making great progress in terms of restoring that power. But we are expecting very warm conditions here across Southeast Texas, so be extra careful if you do find yourself working outdoors, and if you do have those respiratory issues. Take frequent breaks, limit your time outdoors, because not only are we dealing with the heat and humidity, we're also dealing with a poor air quality, all thanks to that ozone that's currently at the ground surface. We have two levels of ozone. We have the stratospheric ozone layer that's in the upper levels of the atmosphere that usually gives us the protection from the sun's harmful UV rays. But once we get that ozone at the ground level, not really good for us to breathe in. But right now, as currently 86 degrees, east-southeast winds at 7 miles an hour, temperatures are slowly warming up into the 90s. And I'm going to go ahead and go back through these graphics for the folks who are just now joining the stream. So if you've heard this all before, that's why I'm doing it twice. Dew points in the 70s, very muggy conditions here across Southeast Texas, and the humidity is going to get worse through the next couple of days. Factoring that humidity, we have a feels like or heat index in the upper 90s. We're not at heat advisory criteria, and we're not going to be as hot as what we see usually in July or August, but we're still dealing with the folks that don't have power, and that's really giving us very warm conditions across our area, aside from the rain that we dealt with on Thursday. So highs in the low 90s this afternoon, feels like temps in the upper 90s, mostly sunny skies. That sunshine is really going to be the factor at bringing us these warm conditions through the next couple of days. We're not going to see no relief in these warm temperatures. So if you are across Southeast Texas, we're dealing with very unhealthy air quality levels. Not very unhealthy, mostly unhealthy. Very unhealthy is the pink color. that is a 3, 4, 5 out of 6. We're at a 4 out of 6 on the air quality index scale. So that in case for the Houston area, when we have very calm winds, sunny days, warm temperatures, we have those ozone issues usually in large metropolitan areas where there's high pollutants. So be extra cautious if you do have those lung sensitivity. Ozone Action Day for Harris County, Brazoria, and Galveston counties. And just keep in mind, like we said, sunlight plus those pollutants that comes from cars and exhausts and household items, that creates unhealthy levels of ozone at the ground level of our atmosphere where we currently live. So be extra careful. You can always limit yourself. The TCEQ advises to probably ride sharing or walking or biking to work or school, but usually it's very warm for today. Above average temperatures expected to be in the picture for the next 6 to 10 days. This is radar. Vastly different than what we were dealing with last Thursday. No rain across Texas, and that's all thanks to this high pressure system that's building in from the south. That is really going to be the cause at giving us these warm and humid conditions for the next few days. And once this high continues to build over the southern half of the state, that's unfortunately going to bring us more humid conditions across Southeast Texas. And that is going to affect the heat index or feels like temperature, because we're going to be very humid out there. It's going to be hard for your body for that sweat on your body to evaporate to cool us off. That's why we usually have miserable summers here across Southeast Texas and across the Houston area. So this building high in the picture for the next few days, that's keeping us mostly dry. It's also going to prevent these rain chances that are going to be moving through on Wednesday afternoon into Thursday. But we're really not expecting any relief in our temperatures as we go into the next few days. We're going to be in the low 90s, like 92, 91 degrees. And even though you see low 90s and you might think, oh, that's no big deal, we're used to temperatures in the upper 90s and hundreds during the summertime. It's because we're dealing with we have a lot of folks that still don't have power, all thanks to Thursday's storms, and we're going to have to practice those heat safety measures, if probably going to a movie theater or somewhere cool to cool off from these hot and warm temperatures if you do not have air conditioning across the Houston area for the next few days. So for your 7-day forecast, lots of sunshine through most of the week. The good news is that we're not expecting any rain chance, so folks who have to do those recovery efforts are able to do so with no rain or storms in the picture. But the bad thing is the heat and humidity that's going to be in the picture for the rest of our work week. So practice those heat safety measures, be safe out there, and hopefully by this afternoon we were definitely able to get more power restored. I know CenterPoint made great strides yesterday. They're expecting more power to return to those individuals later on today, and hopefully we can get those numbers down in terms of power outages here across Southeast Texas. So we are definitely doing that here. We're tracking the heat. We're tracking the latest updates with CenterPoint, and we could always stay up to date with all of that information on KHOU.com. And if you haven't already, lots of information on the KHOU 11 app that you can get weather updates, news updates, even updated information with the schools and in that situation with HISD, Spring Branch. I know there's a lot of damage to those schools, but be cool out there, be safe, and always stay up to date. I'm meteorologist Chris Ramirez.